Jason, and I am here to give you a recap of how my race went at the Yeti 100. So this is the third year I had attempted the Yeti 100. The first couple years I DNF'd. The first year at mile 80, really no good excuse there other than the fact that I just kind of gave up thinking that I had no chance to finish. In reality, that was probably my best shot at finishing the race was the year one. Last year I had a superb race all the way up to around mile 72. Got dehydrated really bad, started urinating blood, and because of that I decided to pull the plug. This year, going into it, I knew I was going to be a little undertrained because of the fact that I've been dealing with more of the bladder issues, thinking I have cystitis because I had some really bad pain late in the summer and had to take some time off. So my training just really wasn't what it had been the previous 2 years. So knowing that, I was going to be a lot more conservative with this year's race. So let's talk about the race. Went up as always on Thursday. Went to packet pickup, got my stuff, had the ceremonial beer the night before, and I got my pizza. The next morning, woke up, like always, had a lighter breakfast, which was like a Cliff Bar. This is the way my gut works. I can't eat a ton of food in the morning time before a race. So had that and felt pretty good. No gut issues, no stomach issues. Felt really well. It was really cold that morning compared to what I was used to, but honestly, the weather in Abington was perfect. It was like 40 something degrees, which was great. Had a jacket on, had gloves on, and had my shorts on. Was dropped off at the shuttle in Abington, and for any of you guys who are familiar with that drive from Abington to Damascus, it is long and kind of windy, which is another reason why I didn't want to eat a lot, because I generally don't get car sick. However, my stomach does get a little uneasy from all the back and forth and around the curves and up the hills and whatnot going up to White Top. So got up to White Top, and there was a substantial difference in the temperature. It was a lot colder up there. I was wishing I'd brought some sort of a beanie, but I was warm in my jacket and my gloves. The shorts were not bad. Was wishing I probably had something a little bit warmer on my head, because it was definitely a lot more colder up at the top of White Top. So the way this race is laid out is, the first 18 miles is straight downhill. You drop about, 15 to 1,800 feet. I can't remember the exact number. And you really don't have crew access until Damascus. So the first 18 miles you're on your own. However, there is an aid station about 10-ish, I think more close to 11 miles in at Taylor's Valley. So, started the race off with 2 flasks of electrolytes, because we wanted to start me off strong with making sure that I was good and hydrated, so I didn't run into any issues like I had in the previous year. Started with some honey stinger chews, and went down the mountain. Decided to go conservative due to the fact that I was undertrained this year, around a 13-minute mile for that first little segment down the mountain. So, it started out very well for me. Going down the mountain, there was no issues at all. Went through the 3 bags of chews, and at Taylor's Valley got a bag of Lay's potato chips. Wasn't a ton of food there to eat. Also, that aid station is just kind of weird how it's up on like a driveway. So you have to walk up this kind of the steep driveway to get to the aid station. But got what I needed, got out of there, and then went on to Damascus. The plan was, from a food standpoint, I was going to eat a lot of wraps, like ham wraps, and with like some guacamole and some mashed potatoes, and then some of those like frozen pizzas. So came into Damascus, had some Coke, had some wraps, felt really well. Left there, and then from there my strategy was to go even slower. to aim for more of a closer to a 14 to 15 minute mile, all the way from Damascus to Abington and then back. In between, there was an aid station called Alvarado, which that was the first aid station I hit. At Alvarado, got my feet worked on really well. Had some pizza there again. Nothing real crazy going on. Legs felt all right. Feet were feeling a little weird, but nothing out of the ordinary. I knew that they would be okay. Over time, that stuff always course corrects itself. So from Alvarado up to Abington, it really went smooth. I was eating very well, eating the wraps that was given to me. Had more of the ham wraps, which really worked well for me. And the weather was really great. I mean, it was still extremely mild and cool, even though that section of the trail there's an exposed section where you're in the sun more, but it's honestly some of the prettiest parts of the trail because of the farmland that you go through and whatnot. So it's just really, really pretty. So at that point, there was really no issues. Race was just running super smooth. I had by the time that I gotten up to Abington, I was ready to start moving to like the mashed potato wraps, which I had some of that, and then again the entire time I had been hydrating on the electrolytes and water. So again, I was doing well from that standpoint. Wasn't having any issues with my hydration at all. So got up into Abington, which was the 33 mile part of the course. So I was about a third of the way through, feeling strong. Had the mashed potato wrap. Had some other odds and ends there at the aid station, and then I changed my shirt, got a new hat, and then headed back toward Alvarado. And this is where I'm thinking that things started to maybe go south for me, and I really wasn't realizing it at the time. So on the way back, right after leaving Abington to Alvarado, actually between Abington and Watauga, I had started having some stomach issues, which isn't really a big deal at all, because you run these races enough, you're going to have some gut issues. So had to go to the bathroom really, really bad, and was able to find a place to go to the restroom, but it was definitely just to be blunt with you, it was not a good feeling, because it just kind of hit me all at once, instead of something gradually coming on. So I didn't think about it then, and at the time that maybe when my issues had started and I hadn't even realized it, but was able to go to the bathroom, but really wasn't feeling like eating at that point, obviously, because my stomach felt kind of yucky. So got a refill at Watauga and then headed back down to Alvarado. In between there, still wasn't really wanting to eat a ton because my stomach just wasn't feeling too hot. But made it back to Alvarado with no real issues, and again thinking that this is going to course correct itself. I think I did eat a wrap though in between Watauga and Alvarado. When I got to Alvarado, they knew that I wasn't feeling well, so my crew had gotten me some broth, some beef broth with some noodles. And so I kind of, had some of that a little bit, loaded back up, and started heading toward Damascus. Again, at this point, nothing crazy was going on. Like I said, you run these races long enough, there's going to be some gut issues, some feet issues, some weird aches and pains. So nothing out of the ordinary. things really started feeling kind of not so hot. And by the way, Alvarado Point was about 42 miles. So anyway, in between Alvarado and Damascus, which is between the 42 and 49-ish point of the race, I don't know, maybe about 3 miles out from Damascus, I really was not feeling well. Stomach was bothering me, and I did not, it was bothering me to the point where I didn't feel like running, which again, it wasn't really a big deal because I was, way far ahead from a time standpoint that, I could easily take time to walk a little bit and kind of get myself reeled back in. So that's exactly what I did. I texted my crew, let them know, hey, not really feeling like eating right now. Just going to walk a bit and, get to feeling better. So made it to Damascus, was able to eat a little bit, not a ton, got all the stuff that I needed to get myself prepared for the night, got into a long sleeve shirt, put on a jacket, grabbed my hat with my headlamp, and then started heading up the mountain. At this point, did not really go into detail with my crew about the extent of how poorly I was feeling because, again, I don't think much could have been done, and I really feel like at that point I had been able to course correct mostly all day on everything, and so I felt like this was going to pass like everything else had passed up to this point, and so I just started chugging along. Well, in between Damascus and the Straight Branch, which was the first aid station, which is around 5 miles, I actually got sick and threw up. And so at this point, this is odd. It never happened to me in an ultra. But again, I knew that this is common. People throw up all the time in these races, and I thought this is no big deal. I'm just going to lay off the food for a minute, get to Straight Branch, and then from there, grab some more food maybe, and then head on to Taylor's Valley. So I got to Straight Branch, told my crew what was going on. At this point, we decided that it's probably best for me to lay off, the food for a little bit, give my stomach some time to readjust itself until I get to Taylor's Valley. I had eaten a ton of food pretty much throughout the whole day, just to make sure that I wasn't calorie depleted. However, at Straight Branch, Will, who was going to pace me at Taylor's Valley, decided to pace me at Straight Branch instead because it was a shorter distance, and he had injured himself the week before and wasn't sure how far he could go, so he wanted to test his knee out to see how well he could do. So at Straight Branch, he picked me up, which was honestly was a game changer at that point of the race for me because I was feeling kind of down. My stomach wasn't feeling too hot, and I really wasn't at a good point because of that. I was worried, but at the same time not worried, just a little alarmed. However, Will was a game changer. In those 2.5 miles, he basically readjusted my whole kind of attitude about what I needed to do to finish the race. He laid out a solid game plan for what I needed to do, and at the same time we realized due to the extent of how bad he was hurt, he wasn't going to be able to do really anything else for me without hurting himself anymore from a pacing standpoint. So we got to Taylor's Valley, we loaded me up on food because at this point we figured it was time for me to really start eating. Between Taylor's Valley and Green Cove is around 7 miles. So this is where everything really kind of went south for me in between this part of the race. I had started to eat and immediately got sick. Wasn't really able to keep anything down. I was given 2 wraps, and then I had a bag of chews in in my pack with some Pedialyte and some water. So tried to eat one wrap, and shortly after eating it, it came right back up. So I gave myself a break from that, and then tried to eat some more, and the same thing happened again. In the middle of all that, I got so laser focused on what was going on with my health and whatnot. The way the Creeper Trail runs is it's a straight trail. There's really not. It's a straight. It's fairly easy to to be on that trail and not get turned around. However, there was one part of the trail that splits off into like a recreation area, and somehow, I guess because I was looking down and wasn't looking at the signs, I split off into that recreation area, and was going through that recreation area and looked up and realized that I was not at the right part of the trail because I could see the runners up above me. So I had to turn around and go back, and that ended up putting me about a half mile out of the way. So I got back on the right trail, and at that point I decided I was going to try to have some of the chews because that might help me out. And so I started eating on the chews, got some of those down, and then shortly there afterwards got sick again. So nothing was I was able to keep down up to this point. So all at that point I'd been drinking some water, and at this point I decided it was probably best that I turn over to the Pedialyte and try to drink some of that to rebuild some of the help get me hydrated because of the fact that I had gotten sick so much. So I drank some Pedialyte, and within a few minutes of after drinking the Pedialyte, I got sick again. And so at this point, I knew that something was just not good for me. Literally nothing was keeping down for me at this point in the race, and I was very, very concerned. My pace had slowed substantially down, and I was just pretty much crawling up the trail up to this point. Made it in the Green Cove way late than what I was expected to make it in at. And at this point, it was time for, I shouldn't continue, and what the repercussions were. At this point, I had fallen behind so much that I was running up against cutoffs, which is crazy because I was so far ahead of the cutoffs. That just goes to show you how much time I had lost due to just not feeling very well. And so I got up to White Top, and then, pretty much right before I'd gotten up there, I'd kind of already decided that it was just going to be best for me to pull the plug because, just to be honest with you, I did not feel I was going to have to continue all the way down by myself, and I was concerned with how weak and disoriented I felt that it would not be safe for me to go down the mountain by myself. On top of all that, I was up against the wall on cutoffs, and I wasn't really able to get any faster. And so, at this point, I was concerned that, would it be safe for me to go down the mountain by myself in the current condition I was in, and two, given at the rate of speed I was at, would it even matter because I was going to get pulled anyway at the next aid station or so. So yeah, I decided to pull the plug and quit up at the top of a White Top. So third straight year, third straight DNF. I will say this much, I am going to definitely take some time off from signing up for the 100-mile distance, and I'm going to focus on some smaller, some lesser distance ones, pretty much 50 miles and under, since that seems to be my sweet spot of ultra running. I think the big thing is I really want to thank, Will and Sam. If you don't know Will Ells and Sam Fritchie, those two guys are two of the most amazing people. 3 straight years they have went up with me to run this race. 3 straight years they have stood by my side and helped me through incredibly tough times. And I'm just extremely thankful for those guys to take out their personal time to go up to help me attempt to run these races. And really, they both played such such big roles. Sam, would work. He helped work on my feet. He would help prepare my food, and then Will was really like a huge motivational piece in helping me. Multiple times getting my head straight, helping me get strategy put together, helping me figure out what I needed to do next. And like I said, after Straight Branch this year, without Will, I don't know what my mindset would have looked like coming into Taylor's Valley, because he was an absolute game changer, helping me kind of get myself redirected and figuring out what I needed to do. And it didn't work out the way that we had hoped, based off of the plans that we had made. But I think the bigger piece to this is how incredible he was. One, even attempting to pace me, being injured like he was just huge. And just extremely thankful for Will and Sam for what they have done for me over the past few years. Especially this year seemed, was definitely seemed challenging. And then, finally my family, my wife, and everybody who's helped me, put up with my training and everything else, and has helped me with these medical conditions and has given me advice and whatnot. So, 100 miles is a long ways to go, and pretty much everything has to fall into place throughout the race for the most part for you to get a good finish there in that distance. But right now it's just not in the cards for me. So that is it. The race is a great race. Jason Green is a great race director. The people and the runners and the volunteers who run those races are just stand-up, top-notch people. So that is it for now. That's my Yeti 100 recap. I know it was kind of probably long and wordy, but that's just how it went. Next up for me, I'm going to be pacing at the middle half, and then I have the Flying Monkey Marathon, and I think that's it for running. And I'm going to start doing some backpacking, and I'm going to do some hopefully do some backpacking on the AT next spring. So got to get my body conditioned up for that. So that's it for now. Like I said, hoping to get some interviews out to you guys soon.